This is Module 60, Long Run Outcomes in Perfect Competition. It's a little bit of review from stuff that we did last time, and should be, I don't know, it just takes a little bit. You got to keep doing it. So in our Long Run Outcomes in Perfect Competition, first thing we're going to see is that each individual firm's short-run supply curve is really just their marginal cost curve. So that marginal cost curve that you're going to see graphed on a chart, that supply curve is that marginal cost curve is their supply curve, and it's pretty easy to see why. When I look at my supply and demand over here, right, and I look at the market for that and my firm over here, if I look at my marginal cost curve, which is this, right, my marginal cost curve, I am willing to produce every time. Like right here is my price, right, coming across. That's my Mr. DARP line. I'm willing to produce where that particular price is. So at this price, label on my axes here, I'm willing and able to produce here. If for some reason the price goes up to here, right, like for whatever reason, wherever this price goes up to, as my price comes across, I'm willing to supply here, here, here. So this whole marginal cost curve is my supply curve. It goes down to where my average variable cost curve is. So let's say my average variable cost curve is down here someplace, and it kind of smirks up like that. I would go down and produce all the way to this point. If this is my AVC though, and remember my ATC is up here someplace, if I would go down to here for whatever reason, let's say, I don't know, suppliers came into the market and came in all the way down to here. At this point, if that price came through right there, whoops, a little crooked on my graph. At that point, that is my shutdown point, because that means I can't even put my gas in the tank, right? So when you look at that, your short run supply curve for your market, that is all of like your suppliers from the firm over here, but they're all dealing with this part of the curve. So this curve right here, that is my supply curve, whatever one of those that we're on at the time. Now, when I look at it, there's parts of this curve, like here, that part of the curve, I'm going to have a loss. This part of the curve up here, I'm going to have positive economic profit, and right there, I'm going to have a normal profit, wherever that might be. Looks like normal profit for me is back here, so some of the suppliers would have to have left the market to get that particular price coming across. But when I have this happen, positive, normal, loss, shutdown. That's all on my marginal cost curve. That basically is my supply curve. So that's what this slide's telling you about the industry supply curve over here. Now, when I look at that short run industry supply curve, there's some things about perfect competition that are explaining that, hey, everybody's making this stuff the same exact way. Which is why we like to use agriculture, right? You can't tell me that a strawberry is a strawberry is a strawberry. Like which one's better, which one's worse. You know, you eat it, it's good. So because of that, that's why we're getting that marginal revenue line coming across horizontally. And I can take all of the firms that are supplying, I can multiply that out. That's how I get my industry market curve for supply. If you look at your long run equilibrium, again, this graph is just showing us what we already know. We have our marginal cost curve coming through. Remember, my average total cost curve is going to come down until it hits that marginal cost curve and then start coming up, because averages are based off of a per unit thing. So when I see something like coming down, right, if I see here my marginal cost curve and my average total cost curve, my per unit costs are going to bring my average down, right? Because as this is lower, my average has to come down. If this is lower, my average has to come down. And then, of course, it's coming back up because now my costs are higher. That's no different than you getting a bad test grade, you missing the free throw, whatever it is, it's bringing your average down. It's going to hit at a point, and then when you start doing things that are positive, or in this case, negative, your costs are higher, it's going to start pulling your average total costs up. When my marginal revenue comes in right here, that's my Mr. DARP line. And that Mr. DARP line coming across is going to show me where my profit maximizing is that you saw in the other videos from module 59. I think it was in maybe part B, where you start seeing this long run process happen. These slides here show you that long run adjustment process the exact same way. What's happening in the left one, we're seeing positive economic profit. Then what happens? People are coming into the market, and my average total cost, it's going to give me a normal profit in the long run as you work down to your average total cost curve line from 8 to 6. So again, this graph, you have to have a market graph. You have to have a firm graph. As you do this, I like to draw my Mr. Darp line first. I think it's easier to do that way when you're getting your prices and your quantities all put together. And then as you put in your other lines like here, then my marginal cost curve can come in. When you see this one on the left, you can see that I'm making a positive economic profit because my average total costs are below, right? There's my ATC. I'm going to produce where MC equals MR right here at that quantity, at that price. And then what's going to happen? On the one on the left, you're going to see, oh, suppliers, it was from S0 to S1. Suppliers are going to come in, and they're going to come in right to here. Why? Because in this example on the left, this is $8, this is $6, $8, $6. You're going to see that quantity here go from 9 to this quantity 7 because suppliers are coming in and take your profit away. On this side, of course, we're seeing more quantity come in. That's your 9,000 to 10,000, right? So there's going to be more supplied in the market, but you as an individual firm producer, you're going to get less out of it. And that's that long run process that's showing you in this little graph. It looks more complicated than it probably is. Just think about it. If you see somebody else making money, you want to make money too. Some people might say, well, Mr. Hestard, how come you don't put in your average variable cost? Well, you can. You know it's going to be down here someplace, right? There's my AVC line. It just is, your lines get so messy, I think, in terms of your graph. But that would show you where you'd make a loss and where you would shut down. If you look at the next one, again, this is the same process in your textbook. It's just showing you all these different graphs just like we drew here. And then the only other part about this is in your textbook on page 603. It's not a bad idea to look at. Most of the time, you're going to see a constant cost industry. That basically means that you are doing everything at a cost that's the same as everybody else. Every once in a while, you might see something like this, an increasing cost industry. That increasing cost means in the long run, you're actually going to have a higher cost. Here in the long run, everything's going to be normal profit. You might have a little positive, little negative, but everything's going to come down to here because your costs are going to be the same. But if you see something that says an increasing cost industry, that means in the long run adjustment process, something's happening where it's more expensive for you to produce more. An example would be land in Florida. There's only so much beachfront property. So as you buy up the beachfront, that last little chunk of land is going to be more expensive than the first part was. The last part there, decreasing cost industry, never seen it on the AP test. Doesn't mean it wasn't coming. A decreasing cost industry, the example in the textbook, I think, talks about the batteries in cars. As you produce more batteries, the price of that electric car is going to start to come down because we have more available battery technology to make that cheaper. So in the long run, you might actually see the cost of something come down. It would say right in the stem of the question, look for it. Almost always it's going to say this is a constant cost industry, but every once in a while they'll throw like an increasing cost on you. You do everything exactly the same. They're not going to make you graph it. It's just that at the end of the question when it says, what's this like in the long run? You have to say, oh, the price is going to be more. Or in a decreasing cost industry, the price is going to be less. In a constant cost industry, the price is going to be exactly the same. All right, till next time.